I'm on my way driving from Vegas to Joshua Tree for a photo shoot. That's why I'm wearing this crazy outfit. I'm making a music video. This guy wrote a song about me and it's really a cool song. But we're gonna drive down to Joshua Tree to shoot a video for it. So I picked him up at the airport in Vegas and we're gonna drive down. It's like a 3-hour drive and it's a beautiful drive and it goes through some very interesting country. So I thought I'd make a little video along the way showing some of the sights. Before we get started, gotta gas up because it's a long, lonely drive through some very desolate country and there's only one gas station on the way and it's like $5 a gallon. We stopped here in Jean, Nevada, which is about a half hour outside Vegas. Gas up here because it's reasonably priced. Better stop and go to the bathroom first. It's a long, lonely drive. Slot machines in the convenience store. You know how that goes. That's Nevada for you. Where we're going, we don't need clothes. It's windy out here today. All right, so I just left town, got gas, and now I'm cutting through this huge chunk of desert called the Mojave Preserve. I don't know how many square miles or acres it is, but it's this ginormous chunk of pretty much deserted desert. I mean, there's hardly ever anyone out here. Like, look at this, just stand right in the middle of the highway and probably have a tea party and play 3 hands of pinochle without a single car passing. Pretty cool. I love it out here, and I'll show you guys some more interesting sights as we travel through. We're going to be driving through the preserve for probably about an hour, and there's no cell signal and no services, so you got to make sure you have a full gas tank and a full flask of whiskey before you head out here. All right, well, we're passing through the Mojave Preserve, and there's actually a really good Joshua Tree forest up here. There's an even better Joshua Tree forest off Sema Road, a little bit farther up in the preserve, but I'm not driving that way today. This is pretty good too, and right now, look, all the wildflowers are blooming. It's absolutely a beautiful day for driving through the desert, and specifically the Mojave Preserve. Now, a word about the preserve, come to find out, a national preserve, it was designated a national preserve back in like the 90s, I think, or the early 2000s, and what that means is instead of just being like a wildlife refuge, you can hunt on a wildlife refuge. In a national preserve, you can't hunt. So you're not allowed to hunt out here, which I'm not sure what all you would really hunt anyways. To my knowledge, there's really not much out here other than desert tortoises. The Mojave tortoise lives out here. And jackrabbits and probably some coyotes, little things like that. Not really any big game, so I don't know why that would make a difference. But here's another interesting thing. I think we're in the area, right around back here somewhere. There used to be a phone booth. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the Mojave phone booth. Well, it's actually a friend of mine. He started this website back in the early days of the internet in the 90s because he was looking at a map one day of this Mojave Preserve, which, like I said, is a vast, vast swath of desert, and there's nothing out here. But he was looking at this map, and this was back in the 90s before it was the preserve. It was just Mojave Wildlife Refuge or whatever it was. And he saw there was a little phone booth marked on the map. In the middle of nowhere, not even on a road. And so, of course, that piqued his curiosity. Like, how's there a phone booth? There can't really be a phone booth out in the middle of nowhere in the desert. Well, by golly, guess what? Next time he drove through the area, because he lived in Arizona, but he used to go to Burning Man every year, and he would drive through here on his way to Burning Man. So on his next trip through, took a little detour to where this phone booth was. By Jove, there was a phone booth, like a classic old phone booth, like from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, in the middle of the desert. And he thought it was so absurd, surreal, astonishing, he wrote down the number for the phone booth, and when he got back from Burning Man, whatever, he decided he would call that phone booth every single morning until one day somebody answered, just to see, what was going on. So he put a little post-it note on his bathroom mirror every morning, reminding himself as he's brushing his teeth, don't forget to call the phone booth. Every morning he would call the phone booth, no answer. Call the phone booth, no answer. Day after day, months went by, years even went by. And then finally, one morning, he called the phone booth and somebody answered. Can you imagine how weird that would be after calling this number every day for, I think, over a year and having nobody answer, then somebody finally does answer? I mean, I can imagine at first he was probably like, hello, hey, who is this? Well, it was this rancher lady who lived out here. Come to find out, there's a cinder mine somewhere out over that way. And she worked at the cinder mine, lived out there, and this was back in the 90s, remember, so cell phones weren't really a thing, and there certainly weren't any cell towers out here, so there was no way to be in touch with the outside world other than this phone booth, which I guess, you know, Pacific Bell or whoever put it out here so that these people in this area weren't cut off completely. So he was like, well, oh, wow, do you mind my asking, like, what do you do? Like, you know, she told him about her life, and she goes, yeah, you know, blah, blah, blah. Listen, I'm here. I need a call. I guess she was waiting for a phone call from somebody, so they couldn't really talk that long. So they hung up. It was a nice little conversation. Now he knew. Oh, by the way, he also started this website about the whole thing. Like, as he was doing this, he documented his journey on this website. Like, well, I called the phone booth. It's been a year. No one's answered. Finally, he had this big news. Oh, I called the phone booth and somebody answered. Blah, blah, blah. Well, it eventually became like this big global phenomenon. I'm not kidding. Like, he had people from around the world reading his blog, and now everybody was calling this phone booth day and night. It became like this weird thing, and people would go camp out at the side of the phone booth in the desert and just take turns answering the calls that came in. Imagine you and your buddies are hanging out camping, you have this bonfire, drinking some beers, and the phone's constantly ringing because people from around the world are calling 24/7. So yeah, everybody would take turns and take calls. Like, one guy answered it. It was some Norwegian morning show, like a radio morning show. Hello, we're calling from Oslo. We're the Sven and Olaf in the morning zoo, or whatever they call their Norwegian version of the morning show. Probably it is Sven and Olaf in the morning zoo. Anyways, calls like that would just come in around the clock, and everybody would take turns talking. What a cool thing. Well, it was all great until, guess what? The government came in, and that was right around the time they made this into a national preserve, and they found the phone booth to be a nuisance, and they tore it down. Oh, I never got to go out there and see it. It was before my time, but apparently, according to my friend who goes by the name Mojave phone booth, actually, the little concrete pad where the phone booth used to be is still out there somewhere. I haven't been to check it out yet, though, because it's supposed to be a kind of a burly 4x4 road, and I don't have a 4x4 yet. But when I get a 4x4, which is soon, I'm gonna go out there and camp out, or at least go visit where the Mojave phone booth used to be, because I just think that's such a weird, quirky story, and it's little stories like that that really make me love the desert. Alright, I'm about 2/3 of the way through the preserve now, and you come to this town of, or the quote-unquote town of Kelso, which is pretty much the only thing in the Mojave Preserve. There's this old historic railroad depot that's actually really cool. I don't know if you can see back here. Really neat old railroad depot from, I mean, the railroad still does come through the preserve, but back in the day there was a little railroad town here. And that cage there is supposedly the original jail from back in those days. There's a really neat museum inside there. You can go in, it tells you the whole history of the area, and it's really cool. I don't have time to go in there today, but maybe I'll go in there another time and make a video, because it's definitely worth checking out. There's all kinds of cool old abandoned buildings here too. I did some photo shoots out here back in the day, but I got busted the last time I tried to shoot out here, because technically you're supposed to have a permit, I guess, to do commercial photography, even though it was, you know, an amateur hobbyist guy who hired us. Anyways, so I don't really shoot photos out here anymore. It's just a neat place to pass through, though. I mean, look at this building. Isn't that cool? It looks like it used to be the old post office. The old post office. Or whatever it was. Looks like the door is of newer vintage. Look, that was the zip code. 90920. Oh, wow, look, there's some more buildings back here. Oh, here's the back door of the post office. It's also got a lock on it though, bummer. But look at this building. This little building and this little grove of tamarisk trees. Yeah, I think these are tamarisks or salt cedars. They grow in the desert because they can suck water out from way underground. Oh wow, what is this? Please help take care of our place. Welcome to Look and Enjoy. Is this like a volunteer cabin? I can't imagine. I mean, the door looks really new. Locked. How am I supposed to enjoy? Look in there. Oh, it's a cabin. Oh man, I sure wish it was not locked. Dang it. Look back here. Here's the back porch. And all these old baby toys covered in tamarisk needles. Wow, that's definitely the desert right there. The desert will take over everything. I wonder whose toys those were and what happened to them. Hopefully they just grew up and moved away. I was hoping this would make noise, but interesting. What I was saying about those tamarisk trees though is, yeah, they suck water out of the ground really well. So they'll grow in these, whenever you come to these busted up little desert outposts, there's usually nothing but tamarisk trees for shade. But they're an invasive species and they actually suck all the groundwater up, so they're not good things. And in fact, in a lot of places they're pulling them out. I think in Death Valley they're actively trying to remove all the tamarisk trees. Good luck with that, guys. What a weird, lonely little part of the desert. And now there's bathrooms here you can stop. There's drinking water. Because this is one of the only places in the whole Mojave Preserve where you can get drinking water. So make sure you fill up your jugs. Here's another angle on the old railroad depot. It's a really beautifully restored building. Really cool. But what we're going to do is we're just going to cruise on up to the T there and go left. That's going to take us right to Joshua Tree. All right, so we went past the railroad depot and we turned onto Kel Baker Road, which is sort of a clever portmanteau, I guess, of Kelso and Baker, because it goes from Baker to Kelso or Kelso to Baker, so they call it Kel Baker Road. Clever, boys. Anyways, you pass by the Kelso dunes here. I mean, they're kind of far in the background and I don't know if they kind of probably blend into the horizon, but that is an amazing dune field. It's probably my favorite dune field in the area because it's closed to vehicle traffic, so there's no dune buggies or ATVs, which dune buggies and ATVs are fine. There's a time and a place for them, but sometimes you just want to be on a sand dune in peace without, you know? So you can hike all the way up to the top of them, and it's the most amazing, surreal, peaceful place. I mean, you get all the way to the top, and it takes like an hour to hike to the top. It's a big dune, and you can see all over the desert. Be such a cool place to have like a surreal tea party or something at sunset. Beautiful dunes. And the other noteworthy thing about those dunes is they're booming dunes. There's only, I think, 5 or 6 booming dunes in the whole world. The sand grains are made out of some kind of silica that when they rub together, like if you climb to the top and slide down and the grains rub together, it makes this sort of booming didgeridoo type noise, or so I was told, right? So I hiked up there and tried it out for myself. And I'll be honest, I was a bit underwhelmed by the noise because it, you know, you hear like it's this booming didgeridoo noise. So I was imagining something like, whoo. And it really ended up being very, very low frequency rumble, but you could hear it. It was pretty cool. We climbed all the way to the top, my sister and I, and we slid down it once. And it kind of just rumbles as you slide down. Really, really cool. And like I said, I think there's only 5 or 6 in the entire world. So if you're in this area, those dunes are definitely worth a look, and you can camp for free right at the base. There's a little campsite. I mean, there's no bathrooms or running water. It's a boondocking site, but it's a beautiful site, and the stars are out of control. So now we're just gonna keep on up the highway here. This lonely straight highway will take us all the way out of the preserve, and the next spot we're gonna be coming to is Old Route 66. Finally made it out of the Mojave Preserve. We just kept going down Kel Baker Road. We crossed I-40. Now that we're out of the Mojave Preserve, we're in the heart of the Mojave. Wow, look what a cool name for these public lands. When I die, I guess they're gonna have to scatter my ashes here or some such, because that's where my heart is. Now we've turned on to Old Route 66 and one of my favorite weird places in the desert, this old Roy's Motel and Cafe. I mean, this is a very iconic Route 66. I guess back in the day, it was a roadside motel, but I don't know how long it's been since it was open, but they redid the lobby to look like it might have looked back in its heyday You know, like in the 50s or early 60s, the classic Route 66 road trip days. Look how cool this lobby is. They put a little piano in there. Like one of those really cool stereos and a cabinet. Look at even the front desk. Look how cool the front desk is. Man, I would definitely stay at this motel. In fact, look, there's even the night bell. Ding dong. Doesn't work. I'd love to do photos in here, man. This would be an amazing place for a photo shoot. Look, they even got the old-time adding machine on the desk there. This furniture. So cool. I mean, nowadays, all it is there's a little gas station where, like I said, the gas is $5 a gallon, if not more. They sell sodas and stuff in there. I'm going to go in and get a Coke. Other than that, there's not much to this little town of Amboy. That's what it's called. You can see across the street the Amboy post office. And the other noteworthy thing in town is right down the highway there in the distance. I don't know if you can see that dark formation. That's the Amboy crater. I'm not sure if it's a meteor crater or a volcanic crater, but it's a big crater. You can hike into it. You can also kind of walk around and check out these used to be the old motel cabins, and at one time they turned them into like art spaces. There was different art exhibits in each one, but they're empty now. They're still really cool to check out though. Just funky little old motel room cabins. People in that one, whoa, spooky. It's just an old motel cabin. And then look back here. This is where I really wanted to go. I wanted to try and shoot video back here because it's the old abandoned Amboy school. I mean, I'll be honest. I know there's a way, like one of these cabins, the window's busted out, you could climb through and get back here. But I wouldn't want to trespass and annoy the owners of this place because I want to try to make friends with them. And then maybe they'll just let me come in here. Look how cool it is, that old abandoned school back there. And then look at these cars in the foreground. Dang, a Clipper. You guys ever drive a Clipper? And then this one over here, this red one, I'm not sure what that is. An Imperial. Wow, beautiful. So cool. Yeah, this whole site is just so trippy and post-apocalyptic. I really like it out here. It's this weird little lonely crossroads at the side of old Route 66. Oh, look, it's the back room of the motel lobby. I didn't realize there was a back room. The window's broken. We can look in. Oh, wow, look at that old monitor down there. So interesting. I sure would like to get in here, but like I said, gotta make friends with the owners first. My sister was telling me she read an article that some guy bought this town. So it's owned by one dude. I need to find that dude and become his friend. If you're watching this, oh wow, look in there. Here's the back room behind the lobby, and there's an old-time stereo cabinet. Look at this old suitcase. Oh man, I'd love to go in there. Oh wow, look, here's the back dining room behind the motel lobby. They had this formal dining area. I wonder what that was all about. I'm not sure you can see that wallpaper. Holy cow. There's even a fancy rug under the table. Seemed like it was a pretty schwanky place back in the day. Now I'm gonna walk over to the cafe or gas station, whatever you want to call it, store. I don't really think it's a cafe. You can get coffee, but it's instant coffee. Sodas, you know, bags of Fritos, that kind of thing. But not like pancakes or, you know, chicken fried steak. Oh, hey, look, there's one other thing I really like here. I want to show you guys that before I go in. It's this giant bighorn sheep. Look. I love bighorn sheep. They're such cool animals. Like all the ancient peoples used to draw pictures of them in petroglyphs because they're, I don't know, there's just something really cool about bighorn sheep. I would love nothing more than to just borrow this bighorn sheep just for an hour and drag it out into the middle of Route 66 here and do a photo on it. Wouldn't that be funny? Roy's gasoline. The old gas pumps, and they still work. Wow, look at this old cafe. It would be cool if it really was still operational. I'd love to eat some pancakes here, but I'll just get a soda. But what kind of soda? So many choices. We got Route 66 root beer. No, I don't feel like root beer. I feel like having classic Coca-Cola. Need some caffeine. Look at this guy. Man, I'd love to go in and shoot inside all those little motel cabins, but I don't have time. I'm kind of running late because I've been stopping so much on this trip. So I gotta get back on the road, but I guarantee I will come back here to Amboy and shoot an entire video just based on this weird little outpost, because it certainly deserves it. All right. Well, we came over the pass from Amboy and down into the valley. We're almost to Joshua Tree, but first you pass through this lonely, crazy, bleak desert valley called Wonder Valley. I wanted to take video at there's a sign that says "Welcome to Wonder Valley," but I think somebody took it down. I didn't see it as I was driving. It's a real shame because it was the neatest sign. But I'm just sitting here in my rusty old jalopy in front of the heart of Wonder Valley and one of my favorite all-time desert dive bars, desert little cafes, the Palms Restaurant. Now, it's not much to look at, but I'm here to tell you this place is unbelievable. It's your classic, funky, weird Mos Eisley Cantina type desert bar, but they have these amazing concerts, weird music, like real strange music. They have great food, cheap drinks, and very interesting clientele. Unfortunately, they're closed today. It's a Tuesday, so we can't go in, but take my word for it. If you're ever traveling this lonely stretch of highway, which is called Amboy Road, you definitely have to stop in here. This place is legit. And the family that runs it are super cool. They have a band called the Sibleys. It's a family band, brother, sister. The mom, I think, writes the lyrics. I have their CD. It's pretty good. They're awesome people, and they're just nice people, too. They have really amazing music festivals here, so if you're ever, look it up online, follow them on Facebook, and come to one of their festivals. Across the road here, you see, I don't know if you can see there's that little trailer and that little hut there. There's a bunch of those little huts out here, little cinder block cabins all over the desert, and what it is back in the 50s and 60s, the government was trying to populate this area because it's so desolate, nobody lives out here. So they offered these kind of like homesteads for super cheap, and they marketed them to like suburbanites in the LA area as like a weekend getaway. Have your desert weekend getaway. So for some ridiculously cheap price, you got 5 acres, and they sold these kind of starter cabin kits where you built this little cinder block hut to live in or stay in when you're out here. So a bunch of families took advantage of it and bought the cheap land and set up little cabins, but you know, over the years they all got tired of it when they realized what a desolate place it is out here. And most of those cabins are just sitting there abandoned to this day. It's a lot of them all over the desert out here. You see them everywhere. My sister and I are thinking of buying some desert land out here to start kind of a, I don't know, like a getaway / hippie commune type thing, artist commune, where we can just go hang out in the desert because the land is so cheap. And apparently there's some kind of groundwater, so it's pretty easy to drill a well. I don't know. We'll look into it. Anyways, sun's going down and I still have to go to Joshua Tree. Keep going down Amboy Road through 29 Palms, and then the next stop after that is Joshua Tree. Okay, you want to know how desolate this place is? I accidentally left my GoPro sitting on the back of my truck when I drove away. And I didn't realize until I was all the way down in 29 Palms, almost in Joshua Tree. Oh man, my GoPro, no! What am I gonna do? I mean, the card inside the camera was worth more than the camera itself because I had all this footage, plus I had some footage of this really cool petroglyph canyon I just went in the other day on a secret government airbase, like irreplaceable footage. So I turned around, hauled ass back to the Palms restaurant, and guess what was laying on the ground? My GoPro. Now here's a testament to the amazingness of GoPros. I had run over it with my truck. This is the back part that fits onto the back of the GoPro so that you can see what you're shooting. It's completely shattered. But guess what? I'm shooting with the camera right now, so it still works. People, GoPros are hardcore. I'm here to tell you, I ran over one with my truck and I'm shooting on it now. Ugh. A lot of people say 29 Palms doesn't have much going for it. I mean, it's just a big Marine Corps base, and half the businesses in town, if not more, are barber shops so that the Marines can get their regulation haircut. But it also has some pretty interesting stuff. I mean, it's known as the city of murals. There's a lot of old-timey murals. I don't know. I mean, it is kind of a funky, dusty desert town without a real cachet, I guess you could say, but I don't know. I still think it's pretty cool. But the farther west we drive, as we go down the highway towards Joshua Tree, the town, it gets more funky and artsy and kind of hippie-ish and hipster. So I guess poor 29 Palms is kind of like the redheaded stepchild, redneck cousin kind of a deal. Woo! We made it! We're in Joshua Tree and we're staying at the Joshua Tree Inn. Look, this is a noteworthy because I think it's the place where Graham Parsons stayed right before he died out here, committed suicide. Seems like a really neat hotel. Can't wait to see our room because it should be real funky and artsy, but mostly I can't wait to have a glass of wine and because that was stressful, leaving my GoPro at the Palms and then having to drive back hoping it was there. But again, it's a testament to the desolation of the Palms and the fact that it's closed on Tuesdays, that it was just laying there, man, with nobody to ruin it except for me, which, come to find out, I didn't ruin it. It still works. So yay, awesome. The way of Wonderhuzzy has prevailed. And now I'm gonna enjoy a wonderful night here at this fabulously funky looking little Joshua Tree Inn. Oh wow, it looks so cool. There's a pool. Good thing I brought my bikini. I can't wait.